Welcome in, everybody, to the KC Sports Report. My name is Michael Darcy, and today I have the pleasure to be joined by my good friend Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com. And in this video, we are going to talk about the Chiefs left tackle situation because, Josh, so many things have happened during offseason OTAs and in free agency and in the draft. The Chiefs went out there and got a couple of options at left tackle. They signed Jalen Moore, the backup in San Francisco, and they also drafted Ohio State product Josh Simmons. So the question that I have for you is, who do you think is going to be the Week 1 starter?
Man, we just went over this on my channel, and I think still right now, even though there seems to be a huge momentum swing for Josh Simmons in recent weeks, especially with the way this coaching staff has talked about him, I still think when you consider the history of starting rookies at left tackle, the amount of money that the Chiefs are paying Jalen Moore, just everything together considered, I still think Jalen Moore is your Week 1 starter, but Josh Simmons is going to be providing some really good competition for him. Gives you depth in case Jalen Moore gets hurt. I also think that's the reason why they threw multiple assets at the position this offseason, because you have that insurance just in case. But ultimately, I think Josh Simmons is still a move for 2026.
When, Josh, you kind of mentioned it, ironically enough, the Chiefs are actually in a pretty good spot with the left tackle position because while we don't know who it's going to be yet, they have two different options. They've got a rookie, and they also have someone that did back up the best left tackle in football in Trent Williams. And I do want to go ahead and show this update. This is coming from Matt McMullen. You can find him on Twitter at KCChiefs_Matt. He said that Josh Simmons is further ahead in his rehab than Coach Reid thought he would be at this point. Good news. So Josh Simmons is still coming back from that torn patellar injury. And that's something that we should be concerned about. But I do think that the fact that he is, making strides in recovery could put him on a timeline to be available for Week 1. But Josh, we kind of talked about it on your channel. I'm not really sure if it makes sense to start a rookie coming off of a knee injury to protect for Patrick Mahomes. I don't think that makes sense. And if you tie that in with the fact that you're paying Jalen Moore $15 million this season, I don't think that makes much sense for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I just think when you have someone coming off of this type of injury, it is better to give them, because more often than not, and this goes for basketball, football, usually you don't become the same player until 2 years after the injury. And so I think the best thing for Josh Simmons would be to kind of utilize this year to rest that knee. Not to say he can't still, be in spot duty here or there or get some snaps or get some experience. But for the most part, this year you're going to kind of take a back seat, let that knee heal. And then I think, his best shot will be in 2026.
Well, and Josh, I think that we both thought that after the draft, Josh Simmons was not a 2025 player. He was someone that the Chiefs drafted specifically for 2026. And so the fact that we're even talking about him potentially starting at all in 2025, I think is a little bit premature. But I do think that, with him being a first-round pick, that comes with a certain amount of hype. And he's also not been, talked poorly about by this coaching staff. Like Andy Reid is a pretty big fan of Josh Simmons, speaking very highly of him. And it almost seems like we forgot that they signed Jalen Moore, that Jalen Moore was a guy that got some left tackle experience, backing up Trent Williams in San Francisco, someone that in a pinch was a pretty good left tackle. And so I think that he should be the starter, at least until Josh Simmons gets his knee figured out. And you said this, on this channel, and you said it on your channel as well. What is the point in starting another rookie left tackle? I don't care if that guy is a first-round pick, a second-round pick. What's the point in starting another rookie, and especially a rookie coming off of a career-ending knee injury potentially?
Yeah, I've always been a huge proponent of not starting the rookie at left tackle. For one, it hasn't really worked out for the Chiefs, but it doesn't work out at a lot of places, not unless you're a top 5 pick at the position, like one of the top players at your position in the draft. And I know people are going to say Josh Simmons would have been one of the top tackles taken, if not for the injury. But guess what? He wasn't one of the top tackles taken. He does have the injury. And guess what? 31 other NFL teams passed on him. And that was for a reason. Not to say that the Chiefs can't still get a good player out of this guy, but it's just a tall task to ask him to start in year one. And I think you don't – that's the reason you signed Jalen Moore, right, is to kind of bring along Josh Simmons, but he's not being asked to start on day one because you don't want another Kingsley situation where you throw him out there, week one to start, and he just looks awful. His confidence is shot, and they're just not able to develop him.
Josh, the Commanders, who literally traded for Laramie Tunsil, drafted Josh Connerly Jr. before taking Simmons. I think that speaks very loudly at what NFL teams thought of Josh Simmons' injury history. And I do think that the Chiefs are a little bit different. They're the outlier in this situation. But let's say the Texans ended up taking Josh Simmons. Most of us would probably end up saying that they took an injury-riddled player that has a high upside of not playing in 2025 or potentially ever. And so I think that we treat this differently because the Chiefs made the pick, but there's still a pretty high amount of risk involved with Josh Simmons, and not just in 2025. But before we go any further in this video, guys, I want to give a huge shout out to the sponsors of this channel all off season long. This video is sponsored by my friends over at DM Injury Law. Have you been injured in an accident? You may be entitled to significant compensation, but you gotta act quick. Trust the skilled personal injury lawyers at DM Law, Kansas City and Missouri's leading injury law firm. DM Law is a full-service personal injury firm backed by a large support staff of investigators, case managers, medical records specialists, and more. With over $600 million recovered for thousands of clients, DM Law isn't afraid to take your case all the way to trial. The best part, you don't pay unless they win. DM Law works on a contingency fee basis, meaning that you do not pay a single thing unless they win your case. Plus, they offer free consultations. If you've been injured, don't wait. You can call DM Law today for a free consultation and find out how they can help you get the compensation you deserve. Let them handle the fight while you focus on recovery. Hurt in a car wreck? Call Mike. Remember, Mike's got this. With offices in Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Colorado, DM Law is here to serve you. You can call them or visit them online today to schedule your free consultation. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisement. Thank you to DM Injury Law for sponsoring this video. The Hollywood Casino at Kansas Speedway is the place to be. With over 1,500 slot machines, 35 table games, 4 restaurants, and a new ESPN Bet sportsbook, there are plenty of ways to find your fun. For more chances to win, follow them on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Huge shout out to the sponsors that support this show all off season long. But Josh, a question that I have for you is, if you were to give your ideal Chiefs starting offensive line from left to right, who would be your starting 5?
Oh, that's a great question. I think your question is who would I start 1 to 5, or who do I think is the best, right?
Who do you think is the best, and who do you think will start? That might be 2 different answers, but who do you think, is the best starting 5?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I think your best 5 would be start going from left to right. Jalen Moore, left tackle, left guard, Kingsley Suamataia. I do think he could be a good left guard. I said that even throughout his left tackle struggles. I think at worst he's a plus starter at left guard. Center, obviously Creed Humphrey. Right guard, Trey Smith, and right tackle, Jawan Taylor. And ironically, I think that is what the Chiefs will do at each of those spots. And I do think that is your best 5. May not necessarily be your highest ceiling 5. And I think you could make an argument for a combination that involves Jalen Moore at right tackle and Josh Simmons at left tackle, and Jawan Taylor just is like your your $20 million per year swing tackle or cut in this scenario. But the Chiefs aren't going to do that.
No. I don't think there's any realistic situation where the Chiefs actually cut Jawan Taylor. And I would agree with your starting five. I think that realistically, in starting week one, it should be Jalen Moore, followed by Kingsley Suamataia at left guard, Creed Humphrey at center, Trey Smith at right guard, and Jawan Taylor right tackle. That's the correct five. And I think that we can have the conversation if Josh Simmons is healthy, after that, or maybe, you know what? Maybe Josh Simmons just wows everybody in training camp and they feel really good about the high upside, but I don't know if the Chiefs are going to make the same mistake twice. But at the same time, they have made the same mistake twice in multiple Super Bowls of letting Patrick Mahomes down with the offensive line. And so I think Kingsley, to a certain extent, kind of scarred them a little bit. But at the same time, it couldn't have scarred them that much because they just used a top 33 pick on drafting the left tackle of the future.
Yeah, no, I think you make a really good point.
So, I mean, Josh, this is going to be a situation that we follow all offseason long. And in training camp, I mean, it could be every other day we've got a different starting left tackle. Maybe the coaching staff is leaning this way one day and this way another. But I think that right now, given the fact that we know Josh Simmons' injury history, given the fact that he is going to be a first-round rookie, I think we feel pretty confident in Jalen Moore being the starting left tackle for this team. And again, I think that, with new information, opinions always change. If Josh Simmons comes out in training camp and lights it up and is someone that, is comfortable at left tackle, he's going to be the starter. But I think that until we see that, we shouldn't be so quick to just give him the starting job.
Yeah, no, I agree for the most part. I think Jalen Moore, he's your wily veteran that you've seen play snaps in the NFL, start for the 49ers, and looked good. And I think there's still some untapped potential with him. The Chiefs obviously saw something. And I think, you're going to see them kind of lean on the side of caution here, especially with Patrick Mahomes, putting in someone that has experience as opposed to Josh Simmons, who has no experience on top of returning from a devastating knee injury.
Josh, has he played football in the last calendar year?
I don't know off the top of my head if he's played in the last calendar year, but he only played 6 games of his last season at Ohio State. So we're coming up on
close. I was going to say we're getting close. And again, I think 45% of the athletes that suffer a torn patellar tendon the way that he did don't end up being the same player. And for someone that's over 300 pounds, that's a concern for me. And again, you mentioned it. 31 other teams said no to drafting Josh Simmons. And I'm not trying to just,
top 5 left tackle in the draft. They said
the best left tackle in the class. 31 other teams, for lack of a better term, kind of took a shit on him. And so I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing because the Chiefs have found, plenty of talent in the draft and they've found steals in the 4th and the 5th and even the 7th round. But again, you got to kind of take into account why other teams decided to say no to this supposed generational talent. So
and don't get me wrong, I still understand the pick, right? This is what I said when they made the pick. I get it. The Chiefs are saying because of the injury, we have a chance to grab a talent that we don't normally get a chance at picking this late. So I get the pick, but there's a reason he was available there. That's all we're saying.
Absolutely. And again, I would love to eat my words, but until we get that new information, it should be Jalen Moore as the starting left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. And Josh, I think that's really all the time we have in this video. I think we had a pretty good discussion. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. Who should be the starting left tackle for this team? Should it be Jalen Moore or should it be the rookie Josh Simmons? And I also want to hear your starting 5 for the offensive line. I'm sure we'll talk about that later on in the offseason. And also, that's another battle in camp. Who's going to be the left guard? Is it going to be Kingsley or is it going to be Mike Caliendo? But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. And Josh, my final question for you is where can the people find your stuff?
You can find me here on YouTube, Show Me Football. That's the channel name. And you can also check out more of my work on showmefootball.com. And then lastly, follow me on Twitter at ShowMeFB.
And guys, all that stuff will be linked in the description of this video. Hit the like button, subscribe to this channel for more daily Chiefs coverage. And until next time, guys, thank you for watching this video. And as always, go Chiefs.